listeners, Harika here, and I'm super excited to welcome you to UppTalk. If you're ready to learn and get your hands work wonders in the world of information technology, then you're in the right place. When I say UppTalk, we are not just another edtech company. Consider we are your learning partner committed to unlocking your full potential. Whether you're stepping into the world of technology for the first time or looking to advance your career, we provide top-tier, hands-on courses to build up your career. Let's take our first step towards learning here and explore it.
Today we have to discuss the encryptions. Let's discuss that. Sequence generator. You are clear, right? Now encryption, decryption. Encryption and decryption means basically when Workday will generate file. Let's say you have created one integration for one of the downstream system and you have included, SNN details. You have included SN details or you have included the personal details, phone number, email address, all those details. Basically, that file is containing the sensitive information. That file is containing the sensitive information. What happens? Basically, when you deliver, let's say Workday in Workday, the file has been generated. In Workday, the file has been generated. For example, let's say employeeXV. Then you are delivering this via some FTP server. TP server. And then SFTP server is going to transmit that file to the Concur system. Let us just assume we are sending data to Concur. In this case here, this employee class will be generated in Workday. In Workday, the data is secure. The file is secure. Everything is secure. But when this employee's fee is getting transferred to SFTP server, there is transmission happening. And in this transmission, we don't know if someone is hacking the system or not. It could be the other person can hack the system as well. They hack the transmission as well. If we simply send employeeXV file in which the data is actually the same, for example, for employee A, the SSN number is something like this. The phone number is something like this. And then personal email and all. Let's say if there is, any such data. Let's say if there is any such data and if the file is getting hacked in between the transmission, then this data will be visible. And this sensitive information is leaked. This SN is the most sensitive information in US. I think you guys, are good to understand the sensitivity of that. Basically, what we generally do is, before transmitting the file to this FTP server, we generally encrypt the file. This data becomes like this one. This data is getting converted into some data. This data is getting converted into some another format where nobody can easily read. Nobody can decrypt that. That is what we call encryption. Here the keys will be involved. In Workday for encrypting files, we have one mechanism, PCP encryption. The full form of PCP is pretty good privacy. How this works is basically there are two things happening. One is encryption. One is encryption, and other is decryption. Encryption means this data is getting converted into this one. This data is getting converted into this one. And then again, then this data is relayed. Now, once this data is relayed, then this is for the source system. In the target system, this data will be decrypted and convert it back into this format. Basically, two parts here, encryption and decryption. Are you able to understand what does encryption means? Encryption means it's encoding of the data which Workday is generating in some random format that nobody can decrypt. That now there are encryption and decryption here. We're using PKPS. We have two kind of integration. One is inbound, other is outbound. Let us discuss outbound first, then I'll show you inbound. Inbound and outbound integration. What happens? Workday is generating files. Workday is the system which is generating files. These files needs to be encrypted. Now, before I go with outbound, inbound, let me just mention the keys here. In encryption and decryption, there are two kind of keys. The one is public key, the another is private key. Public key will be used. Public key can be shared and will be used to encrypt the files. The private key cannot be shared and will be used to decrypt the files. There are two keys. When we talk about the PCP encryption, there are two kind of keys. One is public key, the another is private key. Public key. When you generate a key pair, then two keys will be generated. Whenever you generate for encryption, for PCP encryption, whenever you generate the key pair, then public key and private key, both the keys will be generated. Public key and private key. Both the keys will be generated in which public key can be shared with the system, with the other system, and this will be used to encrypt the files. A private key is something which should not be sharing private key with any other system, and this private key will be used along with public key to decrypt the files. Here, for example, just any one of you can just answer this. Let's say we have two systems, Workday and another is Concur. Which system? Which system should encrypt the file here? Workday sending files to Concur, Workday Workday should encrypt the files here. And to encrypt a file, which key is required? Publicly key publicly. Yes, basically here in Workday, the files will be generated in Workday, the encryption will happen, and we will need a public key. Basically in case of outbound integration, the target system will generate public private key pair. Once key is generated, target system will share public key with source system. Understand the concept here. Basically, when we talk about Workday to Concur in Workday to Concur, this is basically outbound integration. For outbound integration, Workday needs to encrypt the file and Concur is going to decrypt the file. For encryption, we need public key. For decryption, we need private key. And also the private key cannot be shared. In this particular case, in case of outbound integration, what will happen? Each other system, you are delivering files. That system is going to generate public private key pair. Once that key is generated, that system is going to share public key with Workday and that system will not share any private key. Because private key is used to decrypt the files. Public key used to encrypt the files. Here, in this case, Workday generating files. Workday file is to be encrypted. Concur system is going to generate this public private key pair. Concur will share public key with Workday and then Concur will use private key to decrypt the file. If you want to see how the keys look like, we'll show you in a minute how the keys are look like. Can you repeat it again? You're telling it's a target system will generate, right? But here the Workday is. Could you please repeat yes, this is. I mean, we need to clarify this. There are two systems. Sources Workday and target is Concur. For example, Workday is generating file, let's say employee.csv. This file needs to be encrypted using public key. From where this public key will come? From where this public key will come? This key will come from Concur. Then the target system is Concur. Here, see, once a Concur share the public key, we will configure that public key in Workday. Using this public key, Workday is going to encrypt the file. This employee.csv will be encrypted using this public key, will be encrypted. Then the encrypted file will be delivered to SFTP or whatever server you know where the file is expecting. Basically, once this file is encrypted using the public key shared by Concur, the file will be delivered. In target system, basically in Concur will receive encrypted employee.csv file. Encrypted employee.csv file. Now to decrypt this file, Concur is already having private key. How Concur is going to decrypt the file using the private key? See, basically, the concept is whichever system will generate that system will be having private key stored in that system, public key. Private key cannot be shared. For example, let me show you in Workday here. Here there is one task create by SP private key pair. When you see public key, that means it is just a public key. When you see private key pair, this means public private key. Let us create one private key pair. I'm creating one private key pair. I'm just mentioning by sub_test1. I'm not giving anything. I'm just mentioning 2020 cent. That's fine, click. Once you click, then you will see. See here, you will see it is showing you the public key. It won't show you private key. A private key Workday has internally stored because that will be used for decryption. We do not need to share any private keys with any other system. Here this is how public key looks like. Conquer is going to send you, keys, something like this. You need to understand the public. Public private key pair. First one question, Ganesh. In Workday, we are generating this. That means we don't need for the outbound, right? Inbound. Yes, correct. Correct, that I will come after some time. Basically in Workday, when I generated private key pair, that means see here now let us discuss inbound first, then we will avoid confusion. Now in inbound, let's say Concur is sending file to Workday. In this case, encryption where exactly encryption should happen. Encryption, why Workday? Why Workday? No, sorry, Concur encryption would be required in Concur. Who would require public key? Work. Oh, sorry, Concur only. Yes, Concur will require the public key. Here, if Concur requires public key for encrypting the file, which system is going to generate public private key? Workday, yes. Workday. Yes, Workday will generate public private key, public private key and Workday, but they will be having both the keys public and private keys. Which key Workday is going to share with Concur? Public key here. When I created this public private key, in this case, basically this public key we are going to share with Concur. Concur will configure this key in their system, and when the file will be generated in Concur, they will be encrypting that file using this key. And this private key for this is a private key pair. The private key is internally stored in Workday. We don't need to see that private key. Actually, we can't see that private key. Whenever you configure this passive test in your inbound integration automatically, it will decrypt the file. I'll show you how to do that as well. But can I just one question? Yes, in like outbound Workday, because do we have access on Concur for generating that key? No. Why? Why would you generate? See, basically, in Workday, when you will work in integration, there will be multiple systems. You will be responsible only for Workday. And let's say in your company there are two systems, Workday and Concur. You are responsible only for Workday, for Concur. There will be another person who is managing Concur. Let's say, sorry, no, I'm telling. That person will provide that public key to us for getting that. We are going to ask him to generate one public private key and share private key with us. Got it now? Yes, for inbound and outbound. Are you guys clear? What is public key? What is private key? Are you clear? Yes, public key will be used to encrypt the files. Whichever target system, Workday will be sending the files. That system is going to generate public private key and that system is going to share public key with Workday. Workday will be using that public key to encrypt file, and then Workday will relay files to the target system. And it's always the target's responsibility to create public and private key, right? Yes, 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 yes. See, the funder is you cannot share the private key. You cannot share the private key. If let's say in outbound integration, Workday is generating public private key. In that case, Workday will be having public key. Workday can encrypt. How can the other system decrypt the file? They don't have private key and we cannot share the private key. Basically, the thing is, whenever in any integration, just consider the target system is going to generate public private key. That public key will be shared with the source system. Private key will not be shared by any system. Once the source file uses that public key to encrypt the file, it generates encrypted file. That encrypted file will be sent to target system. Target system will be using the private key to decrypt that file. Any other question you have in this passive encryption? I mean, are you able to understand the encryption, the difference between inbound and outbound? There is a slight difference. I mean, only in case of the encryption, only target. In case yes, yes, yes. Simply, you understand the source and always target is going to generate public private key and source is going to use the public key generated by private key to encrypt the file. Yes, and how key looks like? That is something I have shown you. Now let's say this is a private key pair I have generated. There are two tasks you have seen, right? One task is to generate public private key pair we will use when there is inbound to Workday. When there is any integration which is inbound to Workday means data will be uploaded into Workday. And we are going to use this PCP public key when we have outbound integration and we need to configure keys from other system. For that one, we will be using PCP public key. Let's say just using this key only for example, I'm using one another. I'm creating one public key. Create CPPP test public key. Test public key 1. I just pasted the certificate automatically. This automatically. It took dead wallet from validity. It automatically detects. Here let me just put underscore the key I have created with this public key. Basically here, when you will be configuring, this key will be shared by the target system. You just need to configure that. Once you paste that key, always remember the formatting. You need to start from this begin and the key should end with this in block. When you will paste that key shared by any target system, automatically valid from and valid to date will be updated. You won't be able to change this validity for any key. That those details are stored in this certificate. Basically, we won't be able to see those certificate details, but automatically this will be generated. Now I have created one PCP. It is public key. Now let me open any outbound integration, for example, app. This is one outbound integration. If we need to encrypt this outbound IP integration, I mean the configuration is same in core connector and IP. In IP, we have a direct delivery method. In core connector, we use to configure business process, then we configure delivery when you will click on these details. Right now, this is Workday attachment. Let me change this Workday attachment from to SFP. Once I change this here, you will see there is one option encrypt using. There is one option encrypt using. Whatever, this is our own integration. Public key is required for encryption. For encryption, always public key will be required. I have just passed it that public key name. See here this public key. When I click on oh sorry, these are the septic details I need to fill in. But anyways, this is how we used to configure the encryption. Encrypt using this specific test public key. And when you will be configuring for decryption, when you will come, you will be configuring for inbound integration. There you will see instead of encrypt using, you will see the option or option decrypt using. And there you need to yep Ganesh. One question. For every time if we want to generate a public key, we have to create a public private key pair right before that. Because you copied from there, right? No. I mean that is just an example. I don't have any public key from any other system, right? That is why I just created in Workday and I use that key for public key. Basically, this public key will be shared by another system. You don't need to create this. See, the only thing, let's say in case of Workday to Conquer will be sharing this kind of key to you. When Conquer will share this kind of key, you will simply go here, you will simply create, just type create peep, use the task, create peep public key. You just configure the key shared by Conquer and that's all. You can use that name for configuring in integration. I mean, here I just created because I don't have any keys from any other system, right? I just to show you guys, I just created this PCP public key using the private key pair only. You just copy paste from the private to here. Yes, but in general, what will happen here in case of target system? Always target system, you will see the steps would be. Let me just mention the steps as steps for odd bound target system. Target system will share public key. If not shared, ask them to share publicly. From project point of view, I'm just explaining when you are, when public here is saved, key received, install certificate, public key, certificate in Workday using task create PP. Public key name. Use public key name in delivery config to encrypt the files. And for inbound, the first step is create private key pair using create PP private key pair name. Copy public key and share public key with the source system. Not copies, copy, configure, configure. A configure private key pair name in retrieval config. Decrypt using. Here we will do create use public in delivery config encrypt using. Is this clear? Lakshmi Shalini, yes, you will remember this. Should I paste this in the chat? Anyways, I'm writing down. Do no need to paste it on the chat. We are noting it down. But this is clear, right? This encryption and decryption, how this happens. What is public key? What is private key? In what case? Who should generate public private key? Who is going to share public key? Who is going to encrypt the file? Who is going to decrypt the file? All these things. You are clear, right? Yes, cool. This is about the encryption. This is how a Workday follows in encryption. Generally, it is recommended to not share any file, to not deliver any files without encryption from Workday. Because when you are transmitting, when the file is getting transmitted, transmission, it could be the other network traffic can jam that and they can hire those. They can hack those files as well. If the file is getting hacked, your data will be leaked. It's a kind of data breach. Generally, Workday recommends whenever you are delivering files to any other system, ask them to share public key. Encrypt file using that public key. Then only you share the data. And even the same case in decryption asked, you generate the public private key. Just share public key with the target source system. Ask them to encrypt file using the public key shared by you. And then you just configure that private key in the retrieval method, and then you just use that private key, public private key, to decrypt the file. Always you see in Workday, whenever you are generating something, you don't need to encrypt or decrypt. It could be like there are some sensitive information which you don't want to show to everyone. That is something you can mask in Workday. But whenever you are generating some files and you are delivering that files to any other system, in those cases, in those cases, you should be encrypting the file always. Now let us create an outbound integration. This encryption and decryption is clear. The next topic is outbound app. This is one integration system. Integration system, integration tools. We are going to create one outbound app now. As we have created a web service enabled custom report, I have created many web service enabled custom report. Even you guys have created your own web service enabled custom report. We are going to use those custom report in outbound types. Let me see what other reports I have created. There are many, no worries. To create an outbound integration, to create an outbound app, first of all, you understand what is app. App is an integration tool which will generate data, which will generate data or which will load data in Workday system. This app has features to extract data from Workday and load data into Workday. There are two kinds of apps. One is outbound ape, other is inbound ape, or bound ape will be used to extract data from Workday, and it will, if the delivery is configured, it will relay the data to the target system. In inbound apes, basically inbound apes will be used to create update data, create, update, delete data in the Workday system. Here we will be discussing the outbound apes. Apes we have already discussed before. Let us see how we can create one outbound ape. To create outbound ape or inbound ape, we have one task: create ape. In search bar, just go and create ape. Click on it. Click on create ape. Here you just give the name of the ape. I'm just saying, for example, a Canin Thalan 1 Ganesh first I bought bond odd bond integration. Here if you see, we have two options. One is inbound, other is outbound. Just select outbound, click, your outbound in ape has been generated. Now here, this is the ape name. This is the ape name which I have given, and this is the ad reference it generated for this integration. Here in the comment section, you need to enter a short description of this integration, what exactly you are trying to fetching in this integration, and for which vendor you are. You are creating this integration. You can update your comment. That's the optional field, but ideally it is recommended to update a brief description about the integration here. Once you update these things, click on next. When you will click on next, it will ask for the data source type. Here now everything which we will be discussing from here. You need to remember, because all these things will contain, some interview questions. Here, in this case, if you see in get data, there are a couple of options. The options are data source type. There are only just two data source type we have in ape. One is custom report, another is web service. One is custom report, another is web service. Basically, we have created report as web service enabled. We will be using custom report. You can use web service as well. But to use web service, you need to understand that web service. We will be creating apes based on custom report. Here in the data source type, I selected the custom report. Now here in the custom report, I will select the report on which I want to create the ape. I'm just searching for Ganesh. See, always remember, when you are creating custom reports and you are on top of that custom report, you want to create ape, but when you search here, you are not able to find that custom report. Say, in those cases, always check whether that report is a web service enabled or not. If that report is not web service enabled, you won't be able to see that report here in the get data part. If you want that report to be used in this app, then you need to enable that report as a web service. If you are not able to find your report here, just check whether that report is web service enabled or not. Let me just use, this one, Ganesh. First report. When I see there are two options here, custom report and web service, when I selected custom report, then this option is enabled. When I will select web service, then if this option will be enabled. See, this option is enabled now. I'm going to use custom report. When you will click on details, you will find another option. Basically, by default, this integration is going to generate XML data format. Now, let's say if you want data in some other format, you can use this option as well. You are having option of CSV data, JSON, or simple XML. Whatever format you want, you can use from this drop down. Then another is run as system user. Run as system user. Basically, when you will create an issue to run issue, we are going to discuss middle letter. Issue is kind of virtual account which will be responsible for running the integration in the tenant. When we will create issue, we will assign that issue, that is a virtual account. We will assign that issue to run this. That is something I'm just leaving for now. That's not recommended. You can assign that issue in a different way. Basically, the gate data is configured. I have used custom report. I have given the custom report name, then click on next. Gate data is configured, then click on next. The next step is transformation. The next step is transformation. In transformation, you will be having multiple types of transformation. Here, if you see, there is custom report transformation and new custom report transformation. This custom report transformation and new custom report transformation is basically this is a new IB. For this new IB, you are going to create a new custom report transformation. There could be some custom report transformation already present in the system. If you want to use that, you can go with the custom report transformation. But ideally, the recommendation is the first time whenever you are creating any IB integration, just use new custom report transformation. This custom report transformation is actually to transform the data. Basically, the data will be generated in XML format. If you want that data to be generated in some other format, I'll show you how that data and you know how the transformation look like, how the data will be different. In case of transformation, you can use this new custom report transformation. This custom report transformation mechanism is a configurable one. You don't need to write any type of code to transform the XML file. But there is one more option. We have custom transformation. This custom transformation is actually where you need to write Excel code to transform XML data into some other format. This is the difference. This custom transformation will be used only when you want to write Xalt. You want to transform the data using Xalt, then you will be using custom transformation. If you don't want to use Xalt, you just want to configure the report transformation, you just use for the custom report transformation. At this point of time, I'm not using any transformation. We will see transformation as a next step. I'm just leaving this transformation. Then I'll show you how to configure custom report transformation after just 5 minutes. And then just click on next once your transformation is configured. Click on next and here you can configure the delivery details. Here, the next step is delivery. In this deliver option, you will be able to configure the delivery details. As of now, it is Workday attachment. Workday attachment means this integration is going to generate file and will attach the file in the integration event itself. The file will not be delivered to any other system. You can just give the file name. Here I'm just giving, for example, test.xml. Document retention policy. Document retention policy is whenever you run the integration and whenever that you run the file, you run the file, you run the filing time. After you run the file, that is, you can write that document file. You need to write that file. You need to define one specified period until which you want that document to be available in the integration system. Let's say if you are configuring one day, then the file generated this to whenever this integration will generate this test.xml, that will be retained for just one day. If you try to access that document on the next day or the day after next day, then you will be able to see the document name, but you won't be able to download. It will be freeze. Basically, document will be wiped out. This is what is document in a document retention policy. Let's say if you in your company, let's say if you want to retain documents generated by integration for the next 90 days, then here you need configure as 90. You need to configure as 90 these 90 days. This test.xml will be retained in integration event for the next 90 days. This is what this document retention policy means. Then here, if you want to generate file with a specific sequence generator, you can configure that sequence generator here. And then there are encryption mechanism. This is how we create EIB. In this EI, the another option we have is encrypt, using whenever the target system will be sharing any public key. You will configure that public key in Workday system using create PZP public key, and you will use that PZP public key name to configure it. I have used one public key, right? I created this one public key with my name. Not my name. I think I created ptest public. Even this is the key. Then the last option you have is restricted. Whenever you use encrypt using, there will be couple of options. You will get ASCII armored contain integrity check. If there is any decrypted file name you have to give, you can give. If P26 compatible, you need to select. You can select, but all these things will be instructed by your target system. Let's say if they ask you to, just check this. ASCII armored. You are going to select this. ASCII armored. These are the formatting things. These are the different format. Basically, in an encryption, decryption, many algorithms are used. Using what algorithm the key has been generated. Based on that, this will be decided. That is something they will let you know. Whether you need to do this ASCII armored contain integrity check and all those. The main thing is you need to configure this encrypt using. And then the last part here is the restricted to. Whenever you configure any delivery, there will be one option restricted to. Always try to configure here at the tenant. For example, right now we are working in implementation tenant. I want to taste for implementation. I'm just using this implementation. If I need to configure another delivery details for sandbox, I can simply add here. Then here in the details, I'll just mention this as a sandbox and I'll configure the delivery details. For example, here I'm using sandbox for sandbox. If I want to use the self delivery method, I can have multiple delivery methods. Configure for one integration for multiple tenants. In one integration, we can configure multi-delivery methods for multiple tenants. I'm just removing as we are working in just implementation tenant. I'm just removing this now. Click on next. Just do a high level review and then you can click on this IB is created. This IB is created here. If you see the common configuration, there are three. But basically in IB, whenever we will talk about IB, there are three main sections. The one is get data, another is transform, and the last is delivery deliver, get data, transform, deliver, get data, transform, deliver. This is the funder we are going to use in the IBS tool here. One question, Ganesh, always would deliver the XML files only or any other format files also. Sorry, come again. We will only deliver the XML files or any other formats. No, we are going to deliver other formats as well. That's why we have this transformation. If we deliver always XML file, then this step is not at all required. basically to transform the XML data. This step is right now. I have not configured, but you know I'm going to configure in the next integration run. Let me show you. Basically this is get data, transform, deliver. Just remember this. These are the three major main components of EAPs. Now I have created one APE. Let me run this APE. To run this APE, you go to the related action, then in integration, launch. Run now a file name. Let's say use system defaults. Now, when you will launch the integration, whatever launch parameter, let's say in report, whenever. Let's say you created one report, advanced report, and you are using that report in a APE. And that report is having 4 prompts. You have configured 4 prompts. Whatever prompts you have configured in that report, that will be available in the launch parameter when you will be running the APE as well. That will be default. Here in my report, there is no launch parameter configured. That is why it is not asking if I have. If I would have used another report where launch parameter, where the prompt parameters are configured in the report, you would have seen those parameters here when I'm running the integration. For this report, there is no parameter. There is no prompt parameter. That is why you are not able to see now here. If you see there are 2 options, whenever before running it is asking for 2 options. 2 option as in it is asking for the file name. It is saying use system default. By default, whatever file name you have configured in the integration. If you select this use system default, it is going to take that file name, whatever you have configured in the delivery. If you want to enter the file name manually, you can just select the specify value. If you want to get the file name from some other calculated field or some other field, then you can use determine value at runtime. There are 3 options here. You will always see 3 options here. One is your system default. Your system default means whatever you have configured in the APE, integration is going to consider only that file name. Then if you choose a specify value, then it will enable one text block. Here you can write any file name, whatever you want it. It will not ask you to select anything. If you want to mention like ganesh.xml, ganesh.sml, you will be able to use this. You don't need to select any file names. It's just like whatever you will type, the file name will be generated like that only. And if you select determine value at runtime, then here in this field, basically you need to select one field which is available generally. When we configure the sequence generator, we use to provide file name as you just select. Next, we use to provide file name as determine value at runtime. Next sequence for integration file utility. Whenever you configure sequence generator in APE, here in this APE, we have not configured any sequence generator. I'm gonna use use system default. But these options you can try. You have created your own custom report. Those custom reports are web service enabled. Those custom reports are advanced report. If you have that web service enable advanced custom report, you can create Outbound top of that. Just create one of be today's. Your today's activity will be create one APE for whatever reports you have created, run the integration, and explore all these options. You know you will be able to see multiple options. Explore all these options. Now I'm going to use system default in document retention policy also. I'm going to use system default. I'm clicking on, then integration will be executed. Once integration is executed, you will see this kind of screen. This is your integration event screen, where you will be able to see all the details of the integration. Here in this case, see, this is the integration is currently in processing state. The current processing time is 0 and all. when you will click on refresh, this will be updated. See, this integration has been completed in 7 seconds. Once the integration is completed, you will see one file has been generated in output files. When you click on this output file here, you can see test.xml. This file has been generated. Let me download and show you how it looks like. We have already discussed about the integration events in the past. This is how integration event looks like. Here you have the process info, process history, output files, messages, child process, and other details. In the integration details, you will be able to see the launch parameters, whatever you have passed. In this case, there is no launch parameters. It's not showing, but when you will be having launch parameters, you will be able to see those launch parameters as well in integration event. Now the file has been generated. I have daily downloaded the file. Let's open that file here. Wow, this is the file. This is the XML file that has been generated using Abe. Any question till here? Good. Good. Will you be able to create Abe for your custom reports? Yes, here is one Workday ed. Is this the encrypted ed? Workday ed. There is one more. When we created that customer, we haven't put that. Sorry why it's showing this one. Where Workday ed. It's like Workday ed, like this one. Descriptions. Basically, there are two kind of XML. One is simple XML, other is Workday XML. In simple XML, you would simply know this is the tag, you know this is C. Anyways, we are going to talk about the XML tomorrow, and tomorrow I'm gonna discuss this again. Basically, these are tags in Workday XML. This for any, for some of the values, this is going to generate the difference. Let's say if there is any calculated field or there is any field which is having some reference its as well. Those reference its will come in the Workday XML. If you use simple XML, then you will simply see the data, for example, for this worker. If I am trying to access only employee id, then I'll simply see this employee id, this tag. This is something we will discuss tomorrow. Don't worry about that. I mean, you are able to understand this. You know how I have generated this XML from Ape integration, right? Yes, Ganesh, this is outbound Ape, right? Now that this XML is ready, like if you want to send a document to like Concur, that's a different process to sending them. Basically, see now you know the file has been generated. Now, if you want to deliver this file to Concur, in that case, basically the delivery, see right now. If you open this integration, see the delivery method is Workday. Attachment. We have not configured delivery. If you want to deliver this file to the Concur system, then the delivery method you have to choose as a safety or whatever delivery method your company will follow, and there you will configure when this integration will generate the file automatically. This integration will trigger the delivery as well. You don't need to do this manually. Shalini, he say or two, it's a kind of, business process steps kind of. The integration will generate file and automatically trigger the delivery as well. Your job is to run the integration. That's all. Oh, now one more thing I'll just discuss today. Then we will just wrap up for today. As of now, I have not configured any transformation method, and here, as I have not configured any transformation, you can see the data in XML format. This is how the XML format looks like. Now, let's say you are sending this detail to Concur and Concur is saying like, I'm not able to raise the data, whatever you have sent up. I do not read XML data. I need data in text format. Then you need to configure the transformation. To configure the transformation in EAP, first of all, what you need to do is you need to go in the enterprise interface and edit the enterprise interface. When you will edit the enterprise interface, then you will go in the configuration phase for the A. Here only you configured all the things right in gate data. Gate data is fine. Basically, we need transformation. What I'll do is here in transformation, I'm gonna use new custom report transformation. New custom report transformation. Just you select the new custom report transformation. Click next, then click next, then click next. Sorry, here in the delivery as I am using transformation. I don't want the data in XML format. I want data in text format. I'm just mentioning .text. I mean automatically that the data will be generated in text format. I have just changed the modifier, the format. You can try using the same name and configure the transformation. Now I'm submitting this now. When I am using this new custom report transformation, you need to configure that report transformations. How to configure that? Again, you go to interface. See earlier you had just one option added. Now if you see, you have two options. One is edit, another is configure transformation. This configure transformation came because we have configured control. Can we have configured the transform method? That is custom report transformation. There's a just click on this custom transformation, whatever you know delimiter you want to use, you can configure that. I don't want comma, I want fix, pipe. I have just configured in a pipe as a delimiter. You can use, you can use mode, use delimited or fix with means. Let's say C delimited and fix with the difference is delimited. Here it will come like first name delimited, last name delimited, hire date delimited, and on this is delimited file. The fixed width is, let's say you have defined the first name should be 8 characters, the first name should be 8 characters, but the first name is ending in 2 characters only. The file will be, let's say, this one. It will be like fan, then it will just leave 6 spaces because we have consumed just 2 spaces, and then it will again, go with the last name, the next field. You can try, both the options fixed width and delimited. In delimited, it will be just separated by one delimiter. Whichever you will define and fix with, basically you are going to define the length of the field. If the length of the field is not appropriate, it will just, create some blank spaces. If the length is greater than that, then, it's going to just, truncate that. Basically, you can, taste that how that will be, that works fixed with. I'm going to explain the delimiter in delimiter. I'm using a pipe as a delimiter. Then these are the 3 ending options. Where exactly you want cursor to end. This is line feed, then carries return line feed. I just want the line feed whenever the integration run and the file is generated. I want the cursor to be present in the last end of file in the file. Basically, if this is the file I just want to be to place the cursor, here you can use the carriage return line feed. Then here you need to configure the columns, header and footer first. Let us discuss the header now. Let's say you don't want default header. Default header means whatever the field name. This is employee ed. The default header is column heading over at this one. This is the default header. If you want this header to be used in the file, you can simply keep at it as it is. If you want some different header, for example, instead of worker, you want to mention worker name. You want to mention worker name, you want to mention something like this worker name, then the other field, then other field. You can define, like that, like this. Also, in that case, you need to just, unselect this, and then whatever header you will define in file, that header will be generated. But if you are selecting include default header, then this header will not be selected. Whatever header is configured in this column, that only will be selected. In the footer, if you want to write anything, for example, end of file. Let's say mention end of file in the footer, and then in column, there are just 3 fields in the in my report. There are just 3 fields in my report. All those fields will come here, and you need to configure. Basically, for this worker, if you want that worker field to be in double quotes, for example, like this one worker, you want the data in this format. uh, I mean there will be a double quotes before that text, and there will be double quotes after the text. Then you can just keep perfect character and suffix character. If you want to define the column width, you can define the column width and then the column heading override. If you want to add any padding character, you can add the padding character. Padding character. We have discussed in the sequence generator as well, similar. You know that is going to work here as well. Now I'm gonna leave this as it is. You can explore multiple options here. If you will be having any question, you can ask. I'm just clicking on. I have configured the document transformation. Now what I'll do is I'll run the integration again. What was integration name? Ganesh. Which one is this one? Now I'm running the integration again, and you will see the difference, how the file is getting transformed. Launch, I want to use system default only. Click your integration has been launched. Click on refresh to see where exactly the processing is. 80% completed. File has not been generated yet. Click on refresh again. Still the file has not been generated. Click again refresh. It's taking more time than the previous integration. Run that is because of the transformation. Earlier there was no transformation. Right now there is transformation. That is why this integration is taking more time. Now here if you see, there is one transformation step as well. The file has been generated. Let me download that file and let me show you the difference. It is the same integration. I have generated file in different format. Now, if I open that integration file, the file will look like this. See, this is the header, this is the data from the report, and then if I go in the last, this is end of file, which I have configured in the footer. Now, are you able to visualize when I'm talking about transformation, what exactly that means? Yes, the earlier file is the real. The earlier file was this one, this XML. This was the earlier. This was the raw data. I have just transformed this data into this data. Which one is more understandable? Next file. Next file I'll write. It's pretty much simple. No tax nothing. This is more understandable. Believe this. This is what happens. Let's say see integration. By default is generating XML file. Some of the systems are understanding those XML files, some systems do not understand. When other system is not understanding the XML file, they will ask you to generate file in specific format. Here I'm just gender. So I generated file in text format, and this is how it looks like. I have used custom report transformation at this point of time. That was configurable. But there is another way of transforming the file as XML file. That is custom transformation using accessibility. In that one, we are going to write code. That is something we are not going to discuss. Maybe tomorrow, or I'll just complete couple of more security part. Then maybe, I'll just discuss the transformation part. Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel. For more information, contact us sales@uptalk.com.